Hello everyone and welcome. In this recording I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming Mars retrograde that begins on the 30th of October and ends on the 12th of January 2023. When I say ends, it means that Mars stands still in the sky and it stops going backwards. Now, of course, many astrologers mention this in their work every single time because it is that important. A planet doesn't go backwards in physical reality. So that is just an optical illusion, so to speak. So, that being said, uh, it will still be in the sign of Gemini, so it will still have to go forwards on its shadow path, where I am not quite certain the exact date when it leaves the sign of Gemini, but I'm looking at my notes here. I do know that it's close to the 5th of March because on the 5th of March, Mars will rehold its square with Neptune, so it will be already after 20 degrees of Gemini, starting to make its way out. But those dates and that period is also very important. And of course, we'll be looking together when the exact date when Mars leaves the sign of Gemini next year. But before that, it is very, very important because it has to basically finish up what it began under the retrograde. And everything that we have done, initiated, spoken, communicated, the contract signs, the deals made, the options, the preferences, locked in, the coordinates locked in, those will be very, very important because it's execution time. As Mars is going forward in its shadow path, of course, but also after, because Gemini represents the mind, the lower mind, but is it not the lower mind, which is the executory mind? It is, after all, Gemini that actually executes all the great knowledge, philosophies, and basically the blueprint of the heavens, of the stars, that is Sagittarius, the great power of wisdom that was bestowed onto mankind. So, yes, all of that is there. That's the encyclopedia, so to speak, the data bank. But it is Gemini who accesses it and has to execute it, translate it, do something with it, either communicate it forward to those people, group of people who can use the knowledge possessed by the Gemini energy. And here, of course, I am not speaking about people Gemini, but the philosophical expression of Gemini. So the larger sense of Gemini. Gemini, of course, can be us, because I'm a Gemini as well. A Gemini person, it can be an institution. It can be someone performing a Gemini role. It can be an energy. It can be our own being's function, because everyone has Gemini in their being. So those who are Gemini are only Gemini because they have either the sun or many planets or something very relevant there. Now, also, this being said, the energy of Gemini is that which does something with the great philosophical knowledge and research, ultimately, of Sagittarius, humanity's aspirations. This, the arrow aims to the sky, to the heavens, or, according to others, it aims towards the heart of the Scorpio, because that is where the decisions are made how to use the knowledge of Scorpio, which is the toxic knowledge, which is what might be called the Luciferian knowledge, if that even makes sense. So, of course, that is why the arrow is pointed there, because would it make a wrong move, the arrow will be released ultimately. Not necessarily killing the scorpion, but infecting the scorpion's heart with truth, divine truth, Jupiterian truth. And what is Jupiterian truth? Well, that is very simple. Truth is what the divine wants it to be, when and how his terms and totally his conditions. It's in a way unilateral. Newtonian law is something that we think existed since the beginning of time, when truly perhaps it is just a tiny slice of time when the divine itself wishes it for any reason for that to be the universal law. We do not know any other universal law unless Gemini. We open our mind, but in a way no human collective has done before. And going back to the example of the ancients, that is the bad example in this case because they have not succeeded, or their attempts were either failed or they backfired very, very gravely. So, this is where no being succeeded here, no being in a sense of humanity, not any other collective of souls, but us, human beings, our ancestors, our present incarnations. We are doing this. We're upgrading our minds, our mindset, our way of thinking. On one hand, we have to because technology is 10 steps before us. It is 10 steps before our collective mind and heart. So we need to upgrade our mind, and this is basically not even a choice right now. And this Mars in this transit in Gemini and in the next transit, which I am not exactly sure which year it is going to be, but it prepares Uranus's transit in the sign of Gemini, which will upgrade the education system. It will upgrade the relationship of our species to our young. And when I say young, not Leo type of children energy, the child, innocent, pure child energy, but basically the young representatives of our species from adolescence upwards. So, how young adults are educated, treated, what is their normality, who holds power in society, them or Gemini? It's always dual. There is an opposer, and these two have to. So you can imagine how, in a very, very much larger sense, after 2026, sorry, Uranus's transit through Gemini will shake up, electrify, quantum leap in the literal sense this time, in the quite literal sense, our education system, because we can imagine that Uranus's transit in Gemini also raises awareness of how far technology can basically leap the mind, evolve the mind, because that is Uranus, but it will also show us the dark side. So we must be aware of that. We are technology, internet, and everything that has to do with hypermodernism, and even that part of our spiritual and evolutionary practices where we tend to get telepathic because we have the pineal gland. So it's written in our genes for us to be telepaths, or actually, maybe that's the best, be telepaths, because humankind was always telepathic, but the degree was varied, so to speak, where the ancients relied on this, cavemen, let's say, for everyday activities. Would one not say that the primordial humans, in biblical terms, had perfect telepathic capabilities to the source? That's why they did not need any other intermediary as angels or whatever else. Anyway, so this is part of us. So in those years, we'll see what can become of us. But this Mars right now is also preparing us for that very, very same thing, but on a micro scale. This is like just a breeze. This is just, before you get the true scent of a perfume, you just get a mild taste of it, before it gets very close to your nose, or before you breathe in the fumes. So this is how to take this, and it prepares us of how to shape and form our minds, our mental energy, our relationships, Because, no, let's not forget that mind, because Mercury is the ruling planet of Gemini, but in different takes of astrology, so is Venus, an esoteric ruler. So it also, the heart cannot be excluded from here. And also anything that has to do with Gemini, choices, decisions, but all our choice and decision making skills ultimately, well, they very, very much depend on our value system and so much more. So it's not just Mercury, it's a lot of other planets, basically every other planet, but how we see it through the lens of the mind. And again, the lower mind is the highlight here because we have to inject divinity, Sagittarius, into the lower mind as well. And there will be an opposition under this Mars retrograde. We'll get to this later on, which is very relevant to that. So a massive, massive upgrade, but we might also get the turmoil part immediately, as in now, as Mars goes backwards. And that means it will activate strongly relationships, contradictions in relationships, dichotomies in relationships. It has a degree of intolerance to it, where intolerance in the sense that what you tolerated maybe for tens of years, why Neptune, square to Neptune, and I'll speak about this also in a few moments. It will boil upward irritations, the long-term irritations, where I cannot tolerate this anymore. I reached my limit, and this is basically on a mind, Gemini, and Mars in it. Mars executes it, but before it executes, the inner will is born, but a strong mental energy, but Neptune. In Pisces, where it's long term, like you've been tolerating something long term, or have your own habits, your own bad choices, your own flawed mindset, your own self defeat, your own self victimization, your own depression, your own bad toxic friends, your own toxic family members, your own toxicity. So this can be very, very directed strongly to the self. But when the mind sees the necessity to to plutonize itself, because Mars is the lower octave of Pluto, so sometimes it can act a bit similarly, but in small degree, small measure, small impact as Pluto. It hints like Pluto. So it's very transformative. When the mind knows already the necessity to change, the wrecking ball comes. This is where you won't tolerate your own bad thoughts, self-defeating thoughts. You just won't allow the mind to rule over you. So this aspect can either drown you, where it breaks, your bad habits, your bad thoughts, your own disgust to your own being expressed in thoughts, down talking yourself, belittling yourself. That can be very, very intense right now. Intensity for the sake for you to break the habit, for you to, and there's the Linkin Park song "Breaking the Habit." So and please right now listen to me. The Linkin Park song and "Breaking the Habit" depicts suicide, and the singer suffered suicide. Neptune in the third decan of Pisces, undoing of the self, can be poetically translated into exactly that. Mars gives you the choice. Undo that. Don't let that be the case. Because what this aspect truly says, and this square between Mars and Neptune is the stamp. It is the logo of Mars retrograde 2022 in Gemini. That's the logo of it. So you have the power. You hold the power. You do what you want. No one can stop. Why no one can stop you? On one hand, Mars will oppose the galactic center. Your own will, for one fraction of moment, able to bypass any other will, even the greater good, if even divine protection, even the protection prayers good thoughts of your parents, loved one, partner, siblings, children, the whole cosmos can goodwill you, because sometimes there are moments when it's eclipsed. This is where the divine says, the galactic center, let your will be done in this second, this fraction of time only, but let your will be done. Make sure that your will is not that. And you have a lot. There's why this Mars also activates a lot of Gemini energy that has been already played out. I'm speaking about perhaps 2020 and 2021 eclipses in Gemini Sagittarius axis, and also the nodes there. So that was a lot of profound self-knowledge, sometimes dishing out our darkest self, our self-hurt tendencies, and that, let's not forget that Black Moon Lilith was also here at one moment. Oh, actually, no. Black Moon Lilith was squaring this at one moment when she was in the sign of Pisces in 2019 or 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The astrology, there, Lilith, Black Moon Lilith, the most toxic expression of her in Pisces, was showing itself clearly to the mind. So we saw, one way or another, in some circumstance in our life, what our own toxicity is, and our mind could perceive it. And we were given the choice to integrate it, accept it, excuse it, love it, or to try and change it. And if we truly tried and changed it, then we know that there is absolutely no reason to undo the self, because that's not how it works. How it works is, let's get real. Let's change our lives, our mindset, our belief systems, and there will be no reason to undo the self. Quite the contrary. There will be every single reason to use Neptune, to dream a self that is more divine than anything into existence, and no one needs physical harm for that. Life, existence itself is a dream. That this is where we're slowly going to the other extreme of the Mars and Neptune square. Is not everything truly a dream? Every ancient philosophy that our species has ever channeled, or what were given by others or whatever, speaks of this their own unique way. Why take things and relationships and egos so seriously? The one way you can cope with any other person and anything that the other person is not necessarily what their ego projects, because the ego is wrong. The ego is influenced sometimes by hormones, sometimes by programming, but that doesn't mean that the soul is bad. Just look at that person, a childhood photo of that person, and that's when you can see that they're just a soul. I totally agree that there are bad souls. There are evil beings in the bodies of human. Yeah. But most people are just deranged, and they're just a lost soul. So is it that hard to find compassion, tolerance? It takes a lot of Neptune to view an aggressive, hurtful, insensitive, apathetic, or how you pronounce that person. It takes a lot of Neptune. It takes a bit of craziness, or it takes to be a Christ freak in a way, to truly blind yourself. But it gets the job done. So that's the opposite extreme, where when you don't want to see the evil person, evil being, evil thought, evil energy, evil entity, even demon. Why not? Like, it's people and people, karmas and karmas, families and families. Of course, in some are demonic entities. To see them for what they are. And then there comes the reality check moment of the Mars and Neptune square, where you have to leave the evil behind. As in, break the bond, get out from the situation, go and cleanse yourself, get it out of your mind, and your life will be blessed by serenity and peace and joy. That's simple. But you will need to see the evil for what it is. And why I use the word evil, evil doesn't exist in astrology per se, you know? So that's not very professional or astrological of me. But, Gemini and Neptune, and Gemini and Pisces, evil is a good way of translating it, because it's a colorful depiction of something. And Pisces, it has a history to it, so you can very, very easily correlate it. So, yes, if you see that a person does not want to change at all and wants to harm and does not understand that why harm is not okay, let's let us allow to use the word term evil-ish for that. So that's what I'm speaking about. You need to see someone for what they truly are, and then you can choose if you can tolerate it or not. If their innocent soul is worthy enough to be tolerated, if you see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you'll somehow soothe the evil out of them, the aggression or the hurt or whatever is causing it, there you have a great answer. And this Gemini retrograde, Mars retrograde in Gemini might show you the way how. Would you see the opposite? Then you will come to the conclusion, I need to move on. And yeah, move on from the job, move on from the past, move on from the toxic relationship, move on from my own self-victimization, etc., etc. Find forgiveness to the unforgivable is another expression of this square, because forgiveness sets you free. Forgiveness sets the soul free, the mind free, Neptune free, everything. In all timelines, Neptune in Pisces, it knows no time. That's why the past can be perfectly much alive in the present, regardless of when it happened. So forgiveness sets that free. That is the only thing that works. Forgiveness. And yes, I've spoken about an individual expression of this energy, but you can imagine, do that collectively. Gemini, social media, communication, news, political communication, political decisions, etc., etc. Neptune and Pisces, the past, and if is wounding here, that then the wounding is also activated. What I mean by wounding, what happened 200 years ago, 600 years ago, x quantity of years ago, between ethnic groups, this culture meets that culture, race, gender, etc., etc., etc. Pisces is also religious in a way. Jupiter dips back into Pisces under Mars retrograde. That will activate the religious debate without any shadow of a doubt. So we can expect the collective expressions of this to be extreme, where nothing is real, everything is a lie that is out there. I'm so sorry to say it, but if I say it in this nutshell, I don't have to waste time to explain it. Everything that we see and hear collectively is a lie. It's smoke and mirrors, wool over die, the most refined expression of the psychological warfare out there. So, yeah. Now let's get to the more beautiful parts and the practical parts of this Mars retrograde, because I just needed to be warned about we must fight that suicidal tendency. We must fight the undoing of the self. The mind that ultimately is so stubborn that wants to defeat us, it wants to undo every hope and every self-worth left in, and we must not allow it, because that mind is, we must not own that. That's maybe an education. That's where we program the mind in a weird way, not us. We can blame so very many things we just allowed, but we can heal that, we can undo that. So we must win this war of the mind wanting to hurt us and say whisper thoughts into our minds that are not true. So first of all, let's see the Sabian symbols of the beginning and the end. The beginning is 25 degrees and 36 minutes of the sign of Gemini, where Mars will stand still and begin on the 12th of October. Sorry, 30th of October. It's retrograde. So we are looking at that Sabian symbol, and let's before that let's speak about the 30th of October because it's probably on everyone's mind. Is that not Samain? Because yeah, even on Samain Day it's the same thing astrologically. So yes, that is so important. That Samain and the square between Mars and Neptune at the moment of standstill, that's so Piscean. And Scorpionic at the same time, because Scorpio will also play an important role in Mars retrograde. Why? Mars is the ancient ruling planet of Scorpio, and at the moment when Mars is retrograde, there will be eclipse energy in Scorpio and then a lot of trines. So that influences our mind, of course. Scorpio, the unconscious, and basically the house of psychology ruled by Pluto, the planet of modern psychology and psychoanalysis. So that will definitely influence us, and let's hope in the most positive healing. We can do it. I can do it. I'm the master of my own being. My faith is 10 times stronger than my mind. And if my faith rules and conquers the mind, then my mind will turn into pure benevolence, healing me and healing everyone around me. So this is what we need to achieve in a nutshell, and this is where no matter what this energy where it is in your chart, this is what you need to be living in around that time in November. So that's why the Scorpio energy is very important under this Mars retrograde. But again, the trine with Neptune, the Neptunian energy, that has a very powerful influence over the mind. Let's not even care what the ultimate great truth out there is. Let's just live this moment as a dream where we're hell bent of living a beautiful dream and doing something, accomplishing something, breaking our own selves into a divine submission where every part of our being must serve our own greater good and the greater good of every single soul that is important to us in our lives. Gemini, the other, the twin. Everyone's a twin. But let's allow the subjectivity, everyone important for us, for our souls to be the twin. So we're fighting for us, for our own greater good and benevolence, and for everyone else. And this Neptune Mars square is the best possible energy to allow this divine fight where we just infuse everything with compassion, with love. Artists do their thing, mystics do their thing, politicians, uh, Libra people do their thing. When I say Libra people, not people who have their sun in Libra, but people who represent Libra in the world out there, the Libran energy. So your sun sign doesn't matter. What you do, what you represent. So everyone will do their job perfectly. So we can turn the square into an alchemical laboratory where mind over matter, but in a way where we create peace, we create harmony, we create love, a loving mind, a loving collective mind that ultimately helps us in so very many different ways. So as I said, the Sabian symbol is, and the 25 degree 36 minute is so even philosophical because it is the representation of winter frost in the woods. And for Gemini, the mind freezes. So something is locked into our reality. But we must make sure that around the 30th of October, that it is love that freezes. Love, compassion, of our dreams, of our goals, of our faith. Faith in the self, faith in love, faith in others, faith in everyone, faith in humanity, faith in the divine. That needs, and all of our ancestors, Samhain, Halloween, are gonna be with us, part of us, alive through us. Do you have relatives who have passed on and you miss deeply, and they were like living angels in your life when they were alive? They will be alive within you, within your mind, within your Scorpio genes, Taurus, your values, your shared values, even. So you will not be alone. You can do this. It's not going to be easy in the sense that everything is going to be complicated. People are going to be complicated. Paperwork, collectively out there, Scorpio, Taurus eclipses. So financially, it's going to be like tsunami, chaos, what, call it whatever you want, typhoon. But spiritually, the power is yours. Do the right thing with your heart, with your mind, with your dreams, with your prayers. Alchemize whatever it's gonna be. So a power dished out. Only if you don't want to, believe in the greater. If you believe in the opposite, can you not, use this energy to just manifest whatever is helpful individually and collectively as well? Neptune gives us the life water. Only if you choose so is it the water of death, so to speak, which drowns you. Yes, collectively out there, on the internet, social media, even spiritual things and even my work perhaps, who knows? I don't know. But you cannot trust anything that you hear on the internet because that's the siren's call that distracts you from yourself. There are a lot of distractions out there. Most of them, sorry, are going to be tools. Let social media in its distractive way not be part of it. This Neptune, again, the scorpionic energy of Pisces. Sex, fantasies, spiritual exploration of the impossible infinite, theories, scientific discoveries, cosmology, that is going to be out there and will shock you and will make you think, but that's a good thing. The silly part of social media, let that not be part of it. Anything else is okay, so to speak, because you will not be able to block it out. So it will alchemize it, do something with it. But you know, if love is in your life, if love is in your mind, because your ancestors, Samain, are gonna come to you with love. If you also find that love within yourself, again, winter frost in the woods, in the forest, winter frost, it freezes, and that winter frost is that which sterilizes everything. It cleans the forest. That which must die in winter dies at the winter frost. That which needs to survive its own slumber will preserve it in pristine conditions. That winter frost is the most magical moment and expression of life in the universe. Why? Even someone who never ever had a spiritual moment in their existence cannot deny the crisp of the winter chill. Would they be standing, especially in a forest? That is where the air element cuts into your being and makes you think. It stops your mind. It forces you to ask the question: is there a higher force truly out there? So That is the power of the Sabian symbol. Because the purge, the great purge, done Gemini style, the frost, it freezes, sterilizes everything. But it also, the, the image of it, because Gemini is the energy of photography, the visual expression, the impact. Imagine the winter forest frozen, the white, but also the crisp, the perfect standstill, the divinity of the moment, but also the graveyard that it truly is, because it killed so many, so much life. But what a gentle kill, because the death is life already in that moment, because the death of the winter frost is the life in poems, photography, this Sabian symbol, my horoscope. Is it not the fuel for something greater? But the sterilizing of it, the mental energy of that, bad habits. What has to die? Bad habits, self-defeating tendencies, the Gemini dark side. I cannot smile anymore. I'm broken. My heart is frozen forever. Those are sterilized. The dark traits of Gemini, and Neptune is water, Pisces is water. So it freezes there. It freezes and it's purged. Now let us look, and we'll only get to this later on in the horoscope when you can visually see um, the end degree, which is 8 degree and 8 minutes of Gemini, when Mars will stop retrograde, stand still, and prepare to move forward. That says a quiver filled with arrows. Under this freeze, whatever is going to be purged out, whatever remains, that which remains finds prosperity, finds new purpose, finds a greater strength. This is when it makes sense to your mind. Every single reason why you need to believe in yourself, why your dream, why your way of thinking, why your lower mind purged from the whatever was not meant to survive, but whatever was there, you see the perfection of it, you see the strength in it, the divinity of it, why every single reason why you need to make it, why you're valuable, why you need to be part of reality any way you want. You need to be here. It motivates, it feeds your mind with ambition. But this is where it's the divine survival instinct. It's not the low one, it's the divine one. When the divine gives you all the most personal reasons that you need to be here and be part of the game, whatever it is. So, this is where you believe for your existence. And that is the most beautiful expression of the Sabian symbol, because an archer, a skilled marksman, the eagle eye, your arrows, your thoughts, your projects, your thoughts, your projects, your words, your communication, your new relationships, your new friendships, your new self-discovery, self-identity, knowing who you are, heart and mind alike. These are all arrows that will hit their target. What is the target? Eureka, accomplishment, momentum, quantum leap, etc., etc. You manifest it, you make it real. So, of course, by the end of this Mars retrograde, again, 12th of January 2023, we are going to be great marks, men and women, sharpshooters, call them whatever you want, snipers, because we will, it will train us. It will truly, truly train us. Our dreams, the wishy-washiness, the I can so not work right now. I can get out of bed, but not because I'm depressed, because I'm almost like caught up in a dream, in a weird inner creative process, which is procrastination in itself, but it's not, you know? So for artists, mystics, water signs, etc., are going to feel this procrastinative, blissful, serendipitous procrastination at its finest, but this is where serendipity is the key word. And something happens that bypasses all the time you lost. Dreaming, daydreaming, philosophizing, being lost in whatever, but it will be miraculously okay. At any other times, it wouldn't, and no, shouldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't. But under this Neptune, sometimes it's actually okay to just dream. Sometimes it's okay to just waste time because something while dreaming happens inside of you. And again, serendipity, you kind of feel it. And the next day you get it. It happens. You some this is where you will ask yourself, am my wishful thinking and my craze, the Neptunian craze, attracting good things in my life? Is it happening because I'm hell bent on believing it? Or is it actually the opposite? Something is forcing me to believe in it, showing me all of this. Regardless of which end of that situation you are, that's a blessing. You're trying to rationalize a blessing, and it's beautiful. So yeah. But now let's start looking at what Mars is gonna be doing. So the major aspects of this Mars retrograde season are Mars holding a trine with Saturn, which is really good because at least you know what you're doing, you know what you're fighting for, even if you're totally confused on how to do it, how to achieve it, at least you have something to fight for, live for, to achieve, to do, or help, or support, or dreams, or hopes, or promises. There is something in your life to give you at least structure. And your work pays off, your effort pays off, your courage pays off, your diligence pays off, something pays off. And Venus will hold the same trine just as Mars, but she from Libra, her ruling. So it's a good energy, it's a good combo, it's a good cocktail, so to speak. And Mars also holds the quincunx in conjunction with Pluto. So, what the first impression of this quincunx for me is how it's going to be like collectively is going to be radically different as how it's going to be individually. This is where collectively, and please understand the humor, the world might be burning, but you're having such a fun time. The world is burning and your dreams are coming true. The world is burning and you're falling in love, and it doesn't matter what happens outside. So, or let me another. The world is burning, but you're in a dimension of bliss, and you don't even know if you should be feeling guilty or not. There are going to be miracles in the world out there under this Mars retrograde. Not necessarily because of Mars retrograde itself, but Mars retrograde is where our minds are going to be blown. So that's how it integrates in Neptune, the miracle source. Well, yes, but we're also going to see sadness. So, okay, you get what I'm saying. And the good and bad coming in packages together is Gemini, it is Aquarius, Saturn in it, Pisces also, because two fish are trying to go opposite ways, if you know what I mean. So the Neptune side, both the dark and the light, that which heals you can also, yes, that. And needless to say, the scorpionic intensity with the South Node in it. Do we have the strength to do things differently than we have done all of our lives? Where do we focus the scorpionic intensity to? And so much other energy. And Mars, but this is an aspect which is not, I don't know, maybe Not very exact, but I have to show you. So Mars is at 25 degrees of Gemini and Jupiter retrograded back into Pisces and erratic. It it is or it isn't a square, as in there can be an energy of tension between the two, but Jupiter basically amplifies. So this will be a moment when everything is magnified, it's amplified, it's expanded. So including your own self victimization drama, the negative that you want to generate, you want to create, you want to focus on, but at the same time the good. So when you dream, dream big as you can. The power of hope, the faith, belief, this is when it's gonna get the job done. But unfortunately, even the opposite way, because I must repeat, the choice lies within us right now. Because Mars and Gemini, that's their speciality together. What we choose, our options, our choices, determine our outcome or sometimes the reaction. Needless to say, everything regarding the past is gonna be part of this Mars retrograde. Paperwork, legal stuff, Jupiter, and this is where it's important, Jupiter, legal, law, legislation, court rulings, final rulings, appeal, um, attacking a ruling in court, collectively and individually alike, because Jupiter governs that, and Pisces, the past dug up. And the last time it can do this in the upcoming 12 years, so it's going to be important collectively and individually as well. Legal work, paperwork, legally binding choices, inheritance, stuff with family, sharing with others, money, you know. So all of these issues, relationships, power dynamics between partners, within family, sisters, siblings, bros, colleagues, and same-sex relationships are gonna be in the deep, because this is when the universe kind of asks same-sex couples under this Mars retrograde, so how devoted with all your soul are you to your partner? Can you sacrifice truly for your, can you put your partner on the same pedestal as yourself? Because in normal couples it's easy because there's a natural dynamic. Same sex couples, people might think that it's the easiest because you know yourself, because you know, is the opposite. Because that's when the horns clash. That's when my will, but your will, but nature does not set here any rule. So there's always a power game. Would you be compassionate, spiritual, loving, true love? You really want to spend the rest of your life on a soul level with this person? The blessings that are going to come to you are unspeakable, really. Would you reach the conclusion that, well, you're too selfish or you're too immature to have that kind of relationship? That is where the universe, then have the lifestyle where it suits who you are. Of course you aspire to a relationship that is of the dreams, but if you're not yet that person who can live that, well, then go and live that which is fun to you and allow your soul to mature. No. And for those who are single and looking, this might be a moment, but it comes wrapped up in illusion. It comes from the past, Neptune and the Jupiter, an old love or an old someone, or a fantasy becoming reality, a fantasy you had with a person and you never told them, or you were in love with a person and they never knew. This is where alchemy can take. Yeah, I'm very, very sure that in many lives it's going to play out like that. You were in love with a person, you never ever told that person. This may be in teenage years or when you were young or whatever. And the universe twists fate in such a way where you not only meet that person, you will also speak about the past, and there will be something, you know. But for others, still, someone from the past comes back changed, and they put themselves on the table. I'm changed. Are you willing to accept me as changed as I am? And you say yes or no. For others, still, it's something which a fantasy becomes real, where you meet that person who you need, that soul who you need. But there is illusion there. There is, the something there. So don't judge. Allow, because nothing comes with clarity. Everything comes as a fata morgana, as you need to see beyond the cover. You need to truly embody your greatest maturity. Because maybe the love of your life, the person who you need on a soul level in your life, comes with a really bad hairdo, with a very poor choice of clothes. They maybe have the material situation of a homeless person, and you don't know that their soul is what you need in your life. That would make you complete. Because you can imagine that when the connection happen, their status or whatever the wrapping is would disappear in a moment. And you would see them for the dignified self that they are in a second. But don't judge a book by its cover. Because the soul who you're looking for, as I said, might be that person you think it's homeless, the drunk, the druggie, the so the crazy guy, girl, introvert, the weirdo, but if you are the weirdo, then it's the normal person who you're no 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 so don't allow your soul to see through the cover, but at the same time, don't let the fata morgana distract you, because if it's glitters shiny gold, it comes with oceans of love and compassion from the very first second, and there's no Neptune in it, the good kind of Neptune, well, then chances are it's a karmic temptation and don't fall for it. So, what I'm. You need to use your intelligence here. And moving on. The 13th. So my notes say 13th because, yes, Mercury will hold a quincunx with Mars retrograde and it's a ruling planet. So this might be a moment, and look at these trines. Look at all these trines and the quincunxes. Look at how the sky is, the weirdness of it, but the magic of it, the power of it, the intensity of it. Jupiter trines. But we need to see the blessing for where it is. Look at the Pluto sextiles. That is alchemy at its finest. And my notes say 28. Because Mars trines Saturn. Again, this Mars trine Saturn empowerment, it gets the job, it's done, it's completed, it's there, it's time. Here it is, here is the reward of your work. Delayed gratification, that moment when it is gratified finally. Decisions, choices executed. Yes, I know what I want, it's final, I'm not looking back, I'm moving forward. As hard as it is, I don't care about the hardships anymore. Needless to say that the Saturn Uranus square wanes, so it's finally splitting apart the exactity of the aspect. So there is a lot of good, but of course this is under heavy eclipse energy, heavy eclipse energy. So the world at this moment is already a bit changed, and it's already shocked. So this is where a lot of free resource, because there is a wrecking ball economically here, financially, but whenever there is a financial turmoil, there is free resource as energy. Oh, and also Venus and Mercury in Sagittarius are opposing Mars. Value change. But this is where we finally can change our core beliefs, the toxic belief, the lie, the deception, our own deception, the not so um, healthy belief system finally can be demolished. Then the second, yeah, where we have a T square, Neptune, this conjunction of Mars and Mercury in Sagittarius, Mars, Venus and Mercury in Sagittarius, and Mars in Gemini. So what all that I said is gonna be greatly, greatly amplified. Oh, sorry, because it's I got the date wrong. It's not the second of this is the T square that I'm talking about. So the other aspect that I wanted to show you on the 2nd of December, it is one of the highlights, when Mars squares Neptune while trining Saturn, and this means that that is a moment when we can see through the illusion, when we can finally work with everything that we have inside of us, when we have things to a sufficient degree figured out so we can make very, very important moves in our lives. And then we have next year, so already 2023. So this is when Mars, symbolically speaking, is more left alone. So this is when we are truly, truly processing everything that we need to. This is where the Mars and Neptune square, so Mars is at 8 degrees of Gemini, preparing to go forward, and Neptune is at 22 degrees of Gemini, so the square energy finally is not there. So we are doing a lot of things at this moment. This is when as I said, the procrastination, the wishy-washy, when we're actually okay being lost because it works. The serendipity or an invisible force is actually that is not that's gone. That's gone. This is where rational Gemini energy doing it, communicating it, honesty, directness, minding the best possible words and form of expression of doing it, signing contracts, you know, execution energy where you need to be very, very precise and it has to be perfect. The perfect moment. So that's yeah. And then the 12th, when Mars is gonna go forward finally, and it goes forward under a sextile with Jupiter. But this is barely a set. We can barely call this a sextile, but still, important in the sense that work. What you believe is gonna what's gonna happen. Convincing people, business, persuasion. For writers out there, Jupiter makes that book writing or your work get out there and be seen. So this is really, really good for publishing, putting yourself out there and making yourself be seen. But where I want to get is truly where, so this will do. So we are in March. Yeah, March, the middle of March 2023. And this is when Mars holds the third and final time the square with Neptune. Mars going forward um, on its shadow. So Mars is already dipping out of shadow, and that means the final confrontation. So this is when you truly need to make something with whatever happened to your situation. How is your dream looking at? The relationship, the love, whatever was brought in your life, whatever you created in your life, your healing, your therapy, the fruits of your labor, look back at it and make sure that you direct it to grow in the right possible sense and direction for the future. Because that's what the square will make all of us do. Give us a final look and ask us, this is what you had, this is what you've done. Are you okay with where it's going? If you need to, the very, very final adjustments, do it and it will grow where you direct it now. So how we, what we do right now is what we're gonna get tomorrow. How we make our beds right now is how we'll lay in them. So, but mentally more choices, mentally and relationships. So I do hope that this helped you. This is my own take and version of the Mars retrograde period. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all the love, all the support, all the kindness. And again, I can only close this horoscope by saying, Mars, right now we need to choose love. And Gemini and Tarot is yeah, the lovers. We need to be that lover. We need to be the brother. We need to be the sister. We need to be the fairy godmother even. We need to be even Palestina to help one another passionately, like in the myths. That's how miracles are born. So thank you so much. Until next time, bye for now.